Hi, good evening. This is Lisa Kent from Lisa Kent's Fit to Fly Coaching. I'm coming to you from a very stormy night in Smyrna, Tennessee. We just had a huge thunderstorm passing by. And I'm coming tonight to start something just a little bit new. I thought that would be fun. We've had lots of talk about travel journeys. Hey, Mike. We've also talked about journeys of the heart. And today, I wanted to talk about a journey of the mind. It's kind of interesting. And the thing that I was thinking about today were the places that are in your mind that are kind of like frozen. They'll always be there. It doesn't matter how they change, what goes on in the world. Somehow you always know that that place is exactly the way it was when you saw it. The one that I have, it's just, you can smell it and see it and taste it. It's just amazing. It's that place that I was at after I had left home, but before I had gotten married. So it was the first place that I lived where I was really me. I wasn't somebody's daughter or I wasn't somebody's mom. It was just me, and there was a good 7-year stretch. I was in Chicago, and it was the heyday of theater, the little not-for-profit theaters popping up all over the place. I was in this amazing arts community, and it reminded me today. There was an article that someone had posted. It was from the Reader. Now, the Reader is that wonderful place that you have. It's the paper that you wait for every week, the free paper in Chicago. This is the paper that you take to Dunkin' Donuts and you circle your first job. You look for your first apartment. It had an arts section and wonderful article that was written about the arts neighborhoods in Chicago from 1893 all the way up to the present. And the ones that struck me, they have Old Town, and they brought Old Town up to about 1970. Then they started in about 1990 and went to Wicker Park. Now, Wicker Park is where I had a very good friend. He had a coffee shop bookstore. They were very big in the 80s and 90s. This is called Urbis Orbis, and it was the center of the arts community in Wicker Park for, almost good 5-6 years. It was amazing. It had a little theater in the back. We brought all of our Licos and Fresnels over there when we were done with them. It was just a wonderful time. But there was a place missing in between, and that was my neighborhood and my Chicago that I still remember, just like I know it's still sitting there. I know I can walk out into these streets. It was a little place called Bucktown. Bucktown was a neighborhood that began with Ukrainian immigrants. It's all brownstones with those little things on the top that are stylized goats for the goats on the roof. It was an area a little bit west of DePaul and a little bit east of Logan Square. Logan Square is the big arts neighborhood right now. But in the time that I was there, around 1983 to 1990, this was the emerging neighborhood with the artists. All the old beatniks from Old Town had moved over there. Everybody was starting their little families. It was just amazing. The apartments were huge. They were reasonable. The apartment I had was with a wonderful man by the name of Bob Smeltzer. He was a screen artist. He would do this marvelous art, put it on posters. Nothing was computerized in those days. He would draw, he would screen print everything. He lived in the first floor and basement with his family. His brother lived on the 3rd floor, and I lived on the 2nd floor of this brownstone. It was a typical Chicago apartment brownstone where you went up. It was a floor through. It had 12-foot windows. I kid you not. 12-foot windows and a big bay window in the front. And in the back, that iconic Chicago porch. A wooden porch. I hung one of those little net chairs in there. It had a little backyard. There was a garden next door that the neighbor had. This is all in the middle of the city. Now, Bucktown in those days was just kind of emerging. It was at Fullerton and Western, a little bit west of where people wanted really to be. But it was just so exciting. We had our Greasy Spoon on the corner, Fullerton and Western, with omelets and coffee in the morning. course, it's Chicago. We had our dedicated corner bar. It was a place called Quenchers. Quenchers had over 150 different types of beer from all over the world. It was amazing, especially when you're in your 30s. It was just an incredible little place. Everybody knew each other. Everybody talked to each other. The bartender at Quenchers was the one who gave us all the places to go in Dublin. He was from Ireland, and he had us do a whole pub tour when we went into Dublin in the 80s. It was amazing. Now, Bob, who was my landlord, he was one of the founding families for the Bucktown Arts Fest. He gathered all the artists that were living there. We had a theater company. We had musicians. We had poets. We had artists. We had actors, everybody. He got everybody together, and once a year he started the Bucktown Arts Fest. When I got married in 1990, he gave me one of his original screen prints of Bucktown. And it's just, I keep it always, and I feel like I can walk right into that picture. Just walk right into it. I'll be right back on the street. In fact, the symbol of the Bucktown Arts Fest are two little hands, not quite grown, two little hands with paint right there on your t-shirt, right there on the poster. They were the hands of his children. His little girl, boom, put her hands out, and she was the symbol of the Bucktown Arts Fest. We did everything, and it just grew and grew. Now it's a very nice neighborhood. It's a, hey, Tina, it's good to see you. And, Coach Julian's on with me as well. It's good to see you, too. Happy Memorial Day. Well, the festival was really exciting, and we would work every year really hard. Being in my 30s, it was just exciting. Now, their family grew. Their son needed to go and live in the second floor, and Bob was wonderful. He helped me find a place to live. He moved me out, and I could leave the place a mess, which I did. I was young. I left it a mess. I'm sorry, Bob. But it was never the same. I was in a basement apartment, just around the block. I'll tell you, though, we had the windows open every day, and there would be Latin music playing. And I would sit in there and play Billy Joel right back. It was amazing, though. It was a very alive place in the city. Then got married and moved on. A lot of people did. The center of the arts has moved a little bit over to where Tom was with Urbis Orbis and Wicker Park, and now it's gone over to Logan Square. There'll always be a place in cities for the people who are alive and filled with artistic dreams that haven't quite turned into a reality yet. It was a very exciting time. And that neighborhood is frozen in my mind exactly the way it was in 1980, 1989. I know that I can go back to Chicago and walk those streets and it'll be exactly the same. The church will be there. The buildings will be there. Everything will smell the same. I'd have the reader in my hand. Now, this was back in the days when you got the paper every week and it actually was on paper. It wasn't in a post. It was a paper on paper where you could circle things. I know it's there because it's there frozen in my mind. And I can go back there anytime that I want to be me again and find me. I can go right on back there, go back to my place in Chicago. It's probably nowhere else but in my mind right now. But those are my frozen places, and I'll bet you have one too. I'll bet you have a neighborhood in your mind where you lived that is timeless. And no matter how you change, you can go back there and it'll be the same. It might be your home when you were a child. It might be a place that you lived during college. It might be after college. It might be one of the places where you lived when you first got married. But there's a neighborhood that never changes there in your mind. And I wish you a pleasant journey to it because it's one of those things that make you unique. So have a wonderful weekend this weekend. It is Memorial Day. We'll be remembering the people who have stood up in foreign countries and on our land for our neighborhoods and for us. A very special thank you to everyone in the armed service, in my family in the armed service, those who have given their lives for us. Happy Memorial Day to everyone who is enjoying the fruits of their protection. Take care, and thank you for being here. It was fun. Have a great night, and for those of you who are in Smyrna, stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.